Okay, so hi guys, I'm Sam Kimberly. I'm the founder of this group, and I'm here with Kaili Hill, who has been my Pinterest coach for the last couple of months. You guys, she knows all the things Pinterest. I've reached out to a few of you that I work with to hopefully get you guys to come watch live today. And I hope that you get all of your Pinterest questions answered, but we're really going to focus on the basics today. So thank you for being here, Kaili. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Yay! And so I forgot to mention I'm wearing Pinterest colors unintentionally, but
Oh,
here we are, and I'm wearing the red and white of Pinterest.
nice.
So yeah. So what is Pinterest and how can it help your business? Because I know that, a lot of people go on Pinterest just to pin beautiful things or plan for their wedding, and then they don't really know what Pinterest is. So what
Yeah.
is it?
Well, first of all, so it's very underutilized by businesses. They don't realize, yeah, like you said, people think that it's a place to go get recipes or DIY ideas, and that's absolutely 100% true. But a lot of people that are going to Pinterest are looking for inspiration for like if they are maybe they're redoing their yard or they're redoing their basement, or all of those things involve purchasing products, right? And purchasing things. So people go there to search for inspiration, either a project they're working on now or something that they're going to do in the future. And it's a visual search engine, which makes it amazing for us creatives who love to see visuals. And like, I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you a little story about I was on Pinterest, right? Like, I love Pinterest. I'm on there all the time. And I was looking at this farmhouse table. I really wanted a farmhouse table. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need this for my house. And farmhouse tables, like a really good, sturdy, heavy duty one, are expensive, right?
Yeah, they are.
I was on there one day and I saw like plans to like actually make your own for like under $100. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's awesome. Like, and I told my husband right then, we didn't own any saws or anything like that. I told him, I'm like, I want to make a farmhouse table. I need a saw. Like, so he's like, okay. He's like, you do realize you need more than just a saw to make a farmhouse table, right? And I was like, I just need a saw. And he's like, all right, whatever. Like, we'll go to Lowe's or Home Depot and we'll buy a saw for you. And a few $1,000s later, like, I had bought in so many things. I got into woodworking. I bought all of these things that I saw on Pinterest and all of these tools and all of these things. And some of those are people who actually had blogs and they were promoting those different products. So they were affiliates. So that's something that a lot of affiliate marketers do. So all the stuff that I bought for my farmhouse table to make, which by the way, I made it all by myself. It's an 8
Oh my
foot
gosh, that's
table.
amazing.
Yes. I went to the store, I got the wood, like I was scared to death of the chop saw, but I did it. So anyways, all of those people who were affiliates for those products, they got money from that, right?
Yeah.
They got a ton of money from all of the stuff that I bought from their links. And so that's huge. Like when you're on Pinterest, is there are so many different types of businesses on there. And it's a visual search engine, right? And stuff that you put on there lasts forever, kind of like Google, right? And people go there searching for specific things, right? If they want to, for example, with the whole homeschooling thing that we had to do the last couple months, I was on there looking for, organizational things, stuff to post on my walls, like all kinds of stuff I was looking for, right? And it was specific to what my problem was. And so it is very powerful. So if you can utilize Pinterest and learn it, it can be a super powerful tool, especially for creative people. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No. It's a great answer. So,
Yeah.
what kind of creatives can benefit the most? Like, what kind of creative businesses can really do well on Pinterest?
Well, for one, handmade businesses can do really well. So if you are a handmade business owner, you make jewelry, you make wood signs. That's something that's really popular. If you you own a business where you actually make the product and you sell. Maybe you have an Etsy shop that's huge. You can link straight to your Etsy shop, right? If somebody's inspired by the picture or they want to get whatever that thing is, it's great for them, right? It's also great for home decor people, right? Maybe you're an interior designer. Like that's kind of out of the box a little bit. It's just you can put so much stuff on there to attract people to your business, right? Because people are on there looking for home decor. You can also do beauty. That's a huge one. If you're into makeup, if you have a multi-level marketing company that you work for, essential oils, any kind of product that solves a problem, right? And then also even finance, believe it or not, because people are going to Pinterest looking for inspiration and ideas, typically to update their house or to, revamp something. And that involves money and finance. And people are going there to looking for how to budget, those kinds of things, right? Worksheets, things that help people solve a problem. And yeah, so there's so many. I mean, name a business, and I could probably tell you, but
yeah, so I'm thinking like writers, like how could, because we've got a lot of writers in, I'm just so eager to ask you questions. We have a lot of writers in our community, so I was wondering how you think maybe a writer could benefit, especially if they have a blog or a book on Amazon. Is that something that they would benefit from having a Pinterest account and using Pinterest for their advertising purposes?
Yes, absolutely. So depending on what you write about, there's all types of writers. So that's kind of a really big, it depends. Like, are you a writer that is helping to inspire people to take action on something? Are you a writer that is looking to bring awareness to something? There's just so many different avenues you can go to it. And if you have a book, you can link it straight to your book. A lot of writers have blogs, and you can, create content for people to attract them to your blog, right? So whatever the topic is, there's a way to attract people to your content and then get them on your list depending on what it is that you're selling or offering people. So that's a really huge, broad, sorry, you can probably hear my dog snoring.
No, I can't hear anything. I
She's
think we're good.
Super loud. So it just depends on what you write about. You got to put yourself in the shoes of somebody going to Pinterest, and whatever it is that you write about, what is a problem or something that people searching for the answer to, right? Maybe you write about how to better your marriage or whatever. I would create content around what people are searching for, right?
So how do we find that out? Like, how can we find that out? How can we find out what people are searching for on Pinterest?
So depending on your niche or whatever it is that you are selling or promoting, there is something called the smart search in Pinterest. And so basically it's kind of like Google, when you start typing in a word and it will start to pull up words, right? It just kind of guesses what you're going to write. Those are the words and the things that people are searching for. It pulls up the most searched items, the most searched topics, the most searched, whatever it is, right? So those are the things, right? So then you would click on that and see where it takes you, see what people are offering for that piece of information. So that's how you would do it on Pinterest. Also, Google is the same. So it's called a smart search.
Cool. Good to know. That's a really good tip for everyone listening. That's a really important thing to know. So, what do you see people doing wrong on Pinterest a lot? What are some downfalls, traps that people get into with Pinterest?
Well, first of all, I think what people do wrong is they don't have a strategy and they're just creating pins just for the sake of creating pins. And Pinterest is huge on getting massive amounts of traffic to your site, to your product, to whatever it is that you are referring to, right? You get a ton of traffic. There's no doubt about that. Pinterest can get you that traffic. But if you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have a way to capture that traffic so that they become part of your audience or your email list, then the traffic is pointless, right? Because not everybody is ready to buy your product right now. So when they go to your site, they might like it and be like, oh, this is great. And then they get distracted by their kids, or they've, been, whatever it is, they get distracted. And then, a week later, they're thinking to themselves, oh, dang it, what was that website that I was on? She had a really great product. Like, what was that? Like, how many of you guys have done that, right? Like,
oh yeah,
all the time, and you're like, crap, I don't remember. So then they go back and they search for that same thing that they need, and they find somebody else, right?
yep,
And then you don't
absolutely.
get that sell. So having a strategy to, when the traffic does come to you, to be able to collect their information so that you can follow up with them, that you can create this relationship, so that when they are ready to buy, they're like, oh, hey, yeah, she's been in my, inbox a few times in my email. That's the girl that does this. Like, and then, you're top of mind when they're ready to buy.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And then there's also the issue of pins that go nowhere. Right?
Yes.
So even if you link up your pin to your website or to wherever, you still have to be able to capture that information, like you were saying, with an email address. But there's also just, putting a pin out there and having it go no, when you click on it, there's nothing that happens. People
Yeah.
do that all the time too. I think you really taught me that is important, that people put in the web address so that your pin actually does something.
Yes. Yeah. It's essentially the starting point in the beginning of a relationship with your customer or your potential customer, or somebody that basically, if they click on your pin and they go to your site and they sign up for your newsletter or whatever it is that you have, they're basically raising their hand and saying, I like what you have to offer. Give me more, right? And so you need to have a strategy behind it. Otherwise, the traffic is pointless. Like, there's no, that you can have all the traffic in the world. It's not going to do anything unless you capture it and you have a way to follow up with it. So,
Right, that follow-up is so important too. And we're not here to really talk about funnels, but you are a funnel queen. You're so good at it. You're really amazing at teaching it. So that's another resource that Kaili is really good at providing information about. But I wanted to ask you, because we've got a lot of people here that would be kind of starting out on Pinterest and not really having an audience and not really knowing what to do. So what are some of the important things to do when you're just starting out on Pinterest?
well, so first of all, there's some very specific things that you need to do to set up your Pinterest for Business account. You need to have it optimized, which basically means it's optimized for the best, for the best odds for you to be able, for someone to be able to see your stuff, right? And so that involves like using keywords on your pin descriptions, in your bio, using relevant images that are relevant to what it is that you are about, or whatever your topic is about. Having boards that are specific to what your niche is looking for, right? You may have a board that's just your products, but you also need to have boards that would attract the type of person that
Yeah,
you're
that's
trying to
so
attract,
good.
right? Like, so, yeah, and then not being afraid to pin other people's content, even if it's similar to yours, because if there is a pin that is doing really well and circulating really well, and you pin that to one of your boards, that helps bring traffic to your site, to where they are, when your stuff is sprinkled in, they're able to see your information. And then also, if you are new, just having a place to send people to, right? Your pin needs to have a purpose. So if you don't have a blog, that's fine. You don't need a blog. You can send people to a landing page that can act as an information, whatever, like a blog. You can structure it to look that way. You can lead people to your YouTube channel. So maybe they go to your YouTube channel and they watch your video, and in your video, you have a call to action, like subscribe, sign up to get this, whatever it is that I'm talking about, that kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you have somewhere where you're leading them.
That's so good. That's such a good idea with the YouTube channel. I might actually start doing that. I really need to start doing that
Yeah.
with this
Well, and
to
you can
drive
even
traffic
put
to the.
videos on Pinterest, and you can even do like part of a video and then have words that say to see more or to finish the video or see the full video. Kind of like, I don't know if you've seen on like Instagram TV or IGTV, how
Oh
like you'll
yeah.
start watching a video and then you're like, and then it stops and you're like, oh gosh, and then like you have to go keep watching it. You can do those kinds of things on Pinterest so that people go to your YouTube channel.
That is such good information, and I really, I mean, it's so effective because I constantly am like, I'm watching rescue of a pit bull, and I want to see the rest of the video. And
Yeah.
I would assume it's the same, with Pinterest. It's just like everywhere else. You want to see the rest of the video, you've got to click over, and that gets someone onto your YouTube or whatever. So,
And it's a psychological thing too. Like that has to do also with like the titles of your pin. People by nature, like they have to know like what is this? How do I get this? Like, so if you can make your titles and your headlines super juicy, or like, oh my gosh, I need to know what these 5 tips are for my hair. Like I have to know, like you have to make it to where they have to know, right?
yeah, yeah, no, that's so important, and focusing on them, right? Like that's also really important, making sure that you're addressing the needs of
Yeah.
who's on Pinterest and who's in your audience. So who
Mhm.
actually, that's a great question because I know you've talked about that before. Who is really on Pinterest? If someone has kind of their ideal client avatar and they're trying to find the best source of an audience for whatever they're doing, who tends to be on Pinterest?
It depends. It depends on the things that you post. There is on Pinterest, and this is something I teach in my Profit with Pinterest boot camp that I do.
I definitely
Um,
wanna talk about that.
yeah, so there's different ways. So there's the analytics, right? So that's another thing. If you do have a Pinterest or a business account, you have access to look at the analytics, and you can see what type of people are, how many people in my audience are interested in home decor versus finance, that kind of thing. It just depends. Pinterest has its own, like just in general, these are the type of people that are on here. And number one is like home decor and DIY stuff, right? That's the number one. And then they have a bunch of other categories for Pinterest as a whole. But as an individual who has your own Pinterest account, yours will differ and vary depending on the content that you are putting out there, if that makes sense.
Well, I think you talked about, like, it's mostly women
Oh,
that are
yeah.
on, like, that kind of thing. Like, what's the demographic information of the people that tend to be on Pinterest? Do you remember?
I
I
don't
know you
have
said
the
that.
numbers in front of me,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's mostly women. And I believe the median household income is 75,000 and above, which means people have more disposable income that are on Pinterest. There's, I don't know the numbers, but something like 2 point something billion Pinterest searches every month. Don't quote me on those numbers because I don't have them right in front of me, but it's a lot. It's a lot of
Right.
people, a lot of moms, a lot of women. Um, and then also, there is a statistic that people go to Pinterest, they're more likely to buy something that they see on Pinterest versus on Facebook. Um, and another thing that's really great about Pinterest is if you have a product that nobody's ever heard of and it's brand new and it's like maybe you invented something, I don't know, people are more open to learning about new ideas and trying new things from Pinterest because people go there for inspiration and they find stuff that are like, oh, wow, this is so cool, And so it's really great for
Yeah, I
those
do that all the
people.
time.
Yeah, there's very little branded content on there. And what I mean by that, like, Nike, like people aren't like going and searching for Nike or you know what I mean? They're searching for specific solutions to their problems. And so that gives an opportunity for so many products to show up.
Yes, it really does, and I love scrolling through Pinterest and finding new things. I mean, it is for inspiration. I completely agree with that. So you guys make sure that you ask questions because I'm not seeing any questions yet. I heart this discussion. Thank you, Meredith. I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you have any specific questions, I mean, Kaylee's here and she's answering our questions. So make sure to type them in. I want to ask you though, I know that this is a big topic, but I want to ask anyway, just a couple of things. What is Tailwind? What is Tailwind and how important is it to get if you're planning a business strategy using Pinterest?
Well, Tailwind is basically it's a platform or a program where you can schedule your pins. You can schedule your pins to pin, on certain days, and you can also schedule other people's pins. And what this does, it really helps to circulate your pins, right? And have a faster, it helps the speed of getting it out and getting it circulated. There is something called tribes on Tailwinds, which is basically a group of people in a specific niche, and they're sharing each other's pins, right? Getting it out there, circulating it. It also saves you a lot of time because you can literally, usually, I mean, it's a good rule of thumb to do. There's no magic number, but 15 to 20 pins per day. You should be pinning, right? And right now with Pinterest, fresh pins are the focus. And what that means is just, it doesn't mean like new blog posts. It just means new images. They really want you to, use new images because they are making that a priority in the algorithm, right? So Tailwind helps you. It also helps you. So they are a partner of Pinterest, right? So it helps you to be able to space your pins apart so that you don't get marked as spam. Because if you have one pin, right, maybe you're promoting something and you want to pin it 20 to 20 different boards, that's going to show back to back to back all these pins and you're going to look like a spammer, right? So Tailwind helps you to pin those in intervals. So if you have one pin, you want to pin it to 20 boards, you can do that with Tailwind. And they will make sure that it is compliant with Pinterest and you don't get your account marked as spam. So it's really helpful. They also have additional analytics that are really great on what pins are performing well, what group boards are doing well, so that you can know, okay, this pin is doing really good. I should create more pins like this, or this pin is not doing good. I need to get rid of it, right? So it has a lot more of that in there. So
that's awesome. So yes, thank you so much for all the information. So we did get a question. We've gotten a bunch of questions since I said that everyone should start asking questions. So someone did say, what are tribes and Pinterest groups? So you didn't address what Pinterest groups are really, but I think you kind of addressed what tribes are. I mean, they're groups within Tailwind. But what are Pinterest groups?
So they both are kind of like the same function, right? So a group board on Pinterest is basically a group of people, contributors is what they call them. So for instance, I could create a board on Pinterest and I could invite all of you to it, all of you to my board, so that we all contribute a pin that has to do with a certain topic. We could all do that, right? And we help each other by pinning out each other's pins to our own accounts. So it helps to circulate your pins a lot faster so that you can get organic reach and organic traffic and you don't have to pay for that. And so that's the function of a group, and also with Tailwind. So usually on group boards and Tailwind, they have rules. If you're going to pin your content in the tribe or in the group board, then you need to pin somebody else's pin, right? Like a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're going to put 5 of your content, you need to repin 5 other people's pins. So it's just a way to help each other circulate and just get your pins going viral.
Yeah, that's great. That's so important to do. And I love the kind of interconnectedness and the teamwork of it. It's really cool to kind of see that and have it not be, it's so full of community and not competition. I love that.
Well, so, and too, another thing I want to note is group boards on Pinterest are a little bit harder, I think, in my opinion, to manage that one-on-one ratio. So there's a lot of people that just spam and just dump all their pins on it. And if it's not a good group board and somebody's not moderating that, they're not gonna, it's just hard to manage. Where Tailwind, it actually keeps track for you. It keeps track of how many you've contributed versus how many you've shared out. So it's you know, a little bit more regulated or moderated, I guess you could say.
Sure. So, and then there's of course the free version of Tailwind versus the paid version, which is not a question yet, but I just wanted to state that because it's good to pay for Tailwind. I think you get more access to different tribes, more tribes, and you have an affiliate link for Tailwind, don't you?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So we should
And it's
post that in the
for 30
comments.
days free.
Right. So you get 30 days free of Tailwind with Kaili's affiliate link. So I'll make sure to get that for you and post it here in the group. From you and post it here in the group. So we have a couple more questions. The second one is, how would you create juicy pin titles for poetry and short stories?
Well, that's a good one. It just depends on the content, and sometimes you can just pin the poem, right? Sometimes people are just looking for a poem, and it's not anything that they need to go get, right? They don't need to go to your site. I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm not really familiar with a lot of poetry on Pinterest, so
Well, maybe it's like broader. I mean, you could do like how-to poetry articles, like about poetry, like how to write poetry or how
yeah.
that kind of thing. More like the bigger concepts, and then maybe use pins about that, like have the poems on them, like you said,
Yeah.
to kind of like attract people in to wherever you're posting these poems, like a general profile or a general blog online, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and you have to think about what problem are people trying to solve with poetry? Like if they were to search for poetry, what is the point of it? Like maybe you could create something to where they're printables, where they can print out and they can frame it. Or, maybe they're looking for inspiration for posters or, whatever it may be. Like you got to think about what is the purpose for them to look for a poem. Why are they doing that? Do they want it to be something they can post on social media? Maybe you could have social media posts like created for them that it has all these different poems. Maybe it's a package they get, right? They can give you their email for a nicely curated, post of your poems, right? Like, so you just got to think about that, like the problem that they're trying to solve for themselves. Why do they need that? Why do they need that poem? What are they going to use it for?
Right. I mean, there's so many inspirational quotes on Pinterest. There's
Mhm.
lots of quotes about creativity, which I use all the time, and
Yeah.
inspirational quotes, but I don't click on them and go beyond the use of them
Yeah.
as a screenshot or download the image.
Well,
But
and
if
that's another thing. If you can save people the time, right? So you don't pin it, right? You probably just rewrite it or redo something in your own, but that takes time, right? So
Right.
that's another great thing. If you can save people time, you can create, maybe it is like 30 or 40 inspirational quotes in Canva, and they can download it and it's ready to post on social media.
I see that all the time. People put like their logo or their name on it so that when you download it, I mean, you're essentially advertising for them because they've got their information, their logo on that quote.
Yeah.
So that's great. Should we repost existing pins with new photo? Not sure exactly what that means. Do you have any idea? I could ask for
Yeah.
clarification.
So yeah, you can have a pin. You can have several pins. Like you can have 20 pins that go to the same link, right? So if you have an article that you want people to read, you can create 10 different pins or 20 different pins going there. It doesn't have
Okay.
to be just one pin per article. In fact, I recommend doing that, creating multiple pins for one thing, because not everybody's going to resonate with the pin, right? Somebody might like the color blue, or that it attracts them more to things that are blue than something that has red on it, right? So changing up the colors, changing up the pins, and the images is really important. So that's how you would
Yeah.
do the fresh pins, is just do a different image with going to the same place. That's how I understood that question, but
Okay, yeah, I'm waiting to see if there's any other information for clarification for that. But that makes a lot of sense, and I think also because you said this before, there's not a lot of branded content on Pinterest, which to me, and the way that I've heard you talk about this before, is that you can experiment with different colors. You don't have to stick to your brand colors. You can use colors of any variety that you want to use to attract different people to your pins. Is that right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
that it is, with the exception. So yeah, you wanna have a consistent brand, but Pinterest is a place where you can get away with changing it up a little bit, because if you become so like this color, this color, this color, this style, like people just will just scroll past and be like, oh, that's just so and so. Like I already know what she's about, right? So you got to like create stuff that's different sometimes, and Pinterest is a place where you can do that.
That's really good advice. It's because I think that a lot of people get very stuck in their design and the way that things look.
Mhm.
But that idea of, people see it and then they know what you're about and then they just pass right over. And I had
Yeah,
never thought about it that way before. So I think
yeah.
that's really, really important. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions right now.
Okay.
So I want to ask our last question here, which of course is, what does it mean to you to live a creative life?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I feel like being creative just takes some, like, just do what feels good to you, right? Like I feel like living a creative life really helps balance out everything that's going on in our life, right? It kind of takes your mind to a whole different place. Um, and it's relaxing, and people just need to go for it. I know there's sometimes where I don't feel creative, but when I kind of force myself to do something creative, um, it really helps me mentally, because there's so much drama in the world. There's so much stress of like life, and having a family and bills and all kinds of things, where um being creative is really an amazing outlet for people to it just helps with that whole mental struggle that we have, right? And so even if you don't think you're creative, just the act of being creative, just it does something different to your mind, right? Like it just shifts it. So you can be the worst painter in the world, but it's still fun, right? It still brings you out of your reality and just helps you cope with things better. So that's, for me, that's why I like to be creative, because it helps me with that.
I love that so much. It's so perfect. It's amazing. That's exactly right. I think that's beautiful. We did get one more last question. Do you have
Okay.
time for? Okay, sure. So, this is a good one. How do you use hashtags on Pinterest?
Um, I personally don't use hashtags. You can, but I don't think it's like super important. The important thing is that you have keywords. So, I mean, you could use a hashtag with keywords, that's fine. Um, but I don't think it needs to be like a focus. You don't need to have hashtags on all of your content, and your descriptions should actually be like a thoughtful description with keywords. You don't want to just like, put a bunch of keywords and separate them with commas. Just like you don't want to just do a bunch of hashtags. You just want to make sure that it has a thoughtful description that includes a lot of keywords that people are searching for.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So Kaili has a fantastic Facebook group. She also runs a Pinterest boot camp that I would highly recommend to anyone, and she will be posting information about that the next time she runs it in her Facebook group. I've put the information for your Facebook group in the description for this live,
Yeah.
but where else can people find you? Where else do you want people to connect with you?
My Facebook group is my my hub. That's kind of where I do everything, and that's where I run the free boot camp. I don't have any this month as of right now. I may be doing one in July, but it's a free boot camp, basically helping you get your Pinterest set up, like 100% set up, to be able to use it and start getting traffic. So yeah, my Facebook group is where you can find me.
She is amazing, you guys. Join her Facebook
Oh,
group.
thanks,
If
Sam.
you're interested at all in Pinterest, you definitely need to be connected. And I thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And I've
Thank
really enjoyed this conversation. You're a part of this group, right? The
Yes,
CLS Facebook group. So if you guys have any other questions for Kaylee, please put them in the comments and tag her or tag me. And she'd be happy. I'm assuming you'd be happy to answer them
of course.
if you
Yes,
can. So.
yes, of
Thank
course.
you so much for being here, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Thank you. Bye.